firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A rare Hacker After Dark on a Friday night during the fall. Normally, we'd be under the Friday night lights, but because of all the cancellations and postponements due to weather this week, obviously, with the storm, a lot of games have been postponed till Monday. I believe Duval County, most of the teams in St. Johns County will be playing Monday night. So we'll have a little Monday Night Lights coming up next week with a lot of high school football games. And we'll bring you Hacker After Dark tonight up until 9 o'clock here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. For the next 2 hours, it's going to be primarily all Jaguars and NFL with a little college sprinkled in as well. Hour number one, Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. I had the opportunity to catch up with Brian before the team took off to London earlier this week. So we'll talk to Brian. We'll recap the win over Indianapolis. We'll look ahead to these games in London, beginning with Chicago coming up on Sunday. So Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com, about 15 minutes or so away. Coming up towards the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour, Barrett Sallee, one of my favorites to talk college football with. He is the host of the College Football Smothered and Covered podcast. You also hear him on Sirius XM. We'll talk Florida, Tennessee. That'll be our primary focus. We will also do kind of a mid-season report on both Florida State and Miami. Both teams have byes this week. Miami, 6-0, would be in the playoff if it started today. Florida State, 1-5, and probably the biggest disappointment in the country. So drastically different midseason reports for Florida State and Miami. And, of course, we will look ahead to Florida and Tennessee tomorrow night. We'll do all that with Barrett Sallee coming up later on here in the 7 o'clock hour. As always, we're glad you're with us on a Friday evening heading on into the weekend. We certainly appreciate it. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, let's talk Florida, Tennessee, and let's talk Jaguars, Bears. Let's begin tomorrow night in Knoxville. None of you, or at least nobody that I've talked to this week, media, family, friends, are picking Florida to win the game tomorrow night. I'm not picking Florida to win the game tomorrow night either. I'm going to throw that out there. I told you that when the season started. That barring a catastrophe in Knoxville of epic football proportions, I don't think Florida is going to go into Neyland on a Saturday night and knock off the Volunteers. And I still believe that. I think Tennessee wins the football game. Having said that, I would take Florida and the points for whatever that's worth. Most people that I've talked to this week think this is going to be Hail Caesar for those about to be slaughtered tomorrow night in Knoxville. Think this is going to be a woodshed game for the Volunteers. I don't necessarily believe that. Billy Napier has not lost the Gator locker room. The message is still getting to the players. They are still playing hard for Billy Napier. That was one of the questions, right, coming out of A&M. You're 1-2. People thought Billy might be fired the Sunday after A&M. All the talk about when is Billy going to go. It's not if, but when. Can they get Lane Kiffin? If not Lane Kiffin, what about Eli Drinkowitz? I mean, that's all we've been talking about. To Billy Napier's credit, and that coaching staff's credit, and that player, the team's credit, the players on the team, they go to Starkville, conference road game. Mississippi State's bad. Yeah, they are. But it was still a road game. in the SEC, and they go win by 17. Then they have a bye week. They come home as underdogs to UCF and dominate UCF, right? 24-13. I'm not even really sure it was that close. The team is still battling. The team is playing hard. There is something to be said for that. Look, I know most of you have washed your hands with Billy Napier and you're done and you're waiting for the next guy and it's a mere formality at this point. And that's all fine and well. And I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with you, but what I am saying is if you're going to rip the guy for losses to Miami and A&M, give a little credit where credit's due. That team could have very easily folded, man. That team could have very easily said, to heck with this. We're not listening to this guy. He's probably going to be out any day. We're going to go out there for ourselves. We're going to take care of us. That did not happen. A win over Mississippi State and a win over UCF. Now, I do not expect Florida to win. I think Tennessee wins the game, probably 34-21, maybe 13-point game, something like that. But goodness gracious, what happens if Florida wins? Don't expect it, but what happens if it happens? Whew. Conversation about Billy Napier is drastically different on Sunday morning. Here's my thought on the game. Florida needs to survive the first quarter and a half. The biggest fear I think Florida fans should have in Knoxville tomorrow night, Saturday night, 7 o'clock in Neyland, is when they run out of that Big T and the Big Orange Nation and the Volunteer Navy and everybody up there, and you blink and it's 17-0 with 4 minutes to go in the first quarter and the game's already over. They're going to come out like gangbusters, Tennessee is. Florida beat them last year. There'll be motivation there. Tennessee lost to Arkansas last week. There'll be motivation there. Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, they hate the Florida Gators anyway. Florida needs to survive to halftime. If they can get to halftime with the game being within reach, if they can get to halftime with the game being respectable, then okay. Then a lot more pressure is on Tennessee in the second half. Again, no one's picking Florida to win. And if you are, you just have orange and blue goggles on, orange and blue blinders. There was a time in my life where I had those as well, but now I'm an objective broadcast journalist. That's why I'm picking Tennessee to win by 13 points. But, again, get to halftime with it being a game. Come out in the second half. And if Florida's close midway through the third, late in the third, a bounce or two goes their way, I wonder what the aura will be in Neyland Stadium. I wonder what the vibe will be in Neyland Stadium. Florida's caused those fans a lot of heartbreak over the years. A lot of heartbreak. Can Florida get to the second half with this game still being in doubt? That's the goal. Again, give me Tennessee 34-21, but by no means do I think it's a rout tomorrow night. That brings me to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago Bears in London. This is simple for Jacksonville. These next two games in London, whether you want to call them must-wins, have to have them, whatever you want to call them, it would all apply. They have to be 3-4 when they come back here. If they want any chance to have any hope of a wild card. I'm not even going to mention the division because I don't think that's attainable, at least at this point. But a wild card. You come back at 3-4, you're in the conversation. But you're going to have to win two games in London. You're playing two rookie quarterbacks. Caleb Williams on Sunday, and presumably Drake May in New England a week from Sunday, who's making his first career start against Houston. He will make presumably his second career start in London against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have to win this game against Chicago. So let's look at the situation. This game is supposed to be a Bears home game. I'd much rather play Chicago in London than Soldier Field, I'll tell you that. Chicago 3-0 at Soldier Field this year. They're 0-2 away from Soldier Field. I think that matters. Caleb Williams, a lot of those young Chicago Bears playing their first game in London. They've been over there for an entire week. I think that matters. Chicago's going to be without 3 members of their secondary, including 2 starters. Presumably, Brisker, the safety, one of the best safeties in football, has already been ruled out. Tyreek Stevenson, their starting corner, is doubtful. I think that matters. From the Jaguar point of view, the offense finally got it going last week, and you might get Evan Ingram back on Sunday. I think that matters. If Jacksonville is any form of who we thought they were in August, a 9 or 10 win football team, remember when we looked at the schedule and this Chicago game came out in London, we said, oh, that'll at least be a win. They're playing a rookie quarterback. Well, that has gone to the wayside nationally. Overwhelmingly, the Bears are getting picked in this game. Overwhelmingly. I'm going to channel my inner Denny Green here, but in a positive way. They are who we thought they were. Well, last week against Indianapolis, the offense, yeah, the Jaguars were who I thought they would be. Trevor Lawrence, 371. They were running the ball. Brian Thomas Jr. had a $120. Christian Kirk was doing his thing. And they did all that without Evan Ingram. I think the Jaguar offense found something last week. Now, they're playing a good Bears defense, albeit a Bears defense, though, that is banged up in the secondary. If Jacksonville is any form of who we thought they were in training camp, they will go win this game on Sunday. I've picked against Jacksonville 3 times this year. I picked them to lose Miami, Buffalo, Houston. I'm not touting my own horn there. I'm just saying that I'm not sunshine and rainbows. I don't pick Jacksonville just for the sake of picking them every week. Far from it. I did pick them to beat the Colts, and I was right. And I've had a good feeling about this game all week, too. I've had a good feeling. If Jacksonville had to play in Soldier Field, I probably wouldn't. This, to me, has Buffalo vibes from last year. Remember that game was supposed to be in Orchard Park. It was in London instead. The Jaguars won the game. I think because of London, because of some injuries to the Bears secondary, and because Jacksonville is much better to me than that 1-4 record, I think the Jaguars win the game. I think Jacksonville will find a way to get more points than Chicago. I hope I'm right, and I need to be right, because Jacksonville needs this game, and they need next week against New England in London to have any form of hope coming back when you play the likes of Green Bay, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Detroit, and Houston again. These 2 games in London are 2 of their easier 3 or 4 games left on their 12-game schedule. You got to get both of them. It begins Sunday against Chicago. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars find a way to get it done, and they will be 2-4 on the year. Give me Jacksonville 27, Chicago 23, and the Jaguars win a vital football game to get to 2-4 on the year. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk Bears. Let's do it with my buddy Brian Sexton. Jaguars.com. I had the opportunity earlier this week to catch up with Brian before the team left for London, and you'll hear that conversation next on a Friday evening here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's Hacker After Dark. We appreciate you being with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Let's take it down the field and win it.
It's a different kind of Sunday drive.
My neck here. Are you suffering from
Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville brings you the drive of the game on 1010XL.
Baloo for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to ShinatriDC.com.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. You know, here's the bottom line. Back in February, man, I was in bad shape. Bad shape. 317 pounds. I'm not proud of that. I'm just telling you where I was in life. 317 pounds. I heard about Awaken 180. Wanted to get involved. Needed to change my life some way, somehow. Here we are in October. This morning I weighed in at 214 pounds. I've lost 103 pounds on this program. The best weight loss program I've ever been on. If you need to lose 100 pounds, if you need to lose 20 pounds, any point in between, take it from me, a guy that's lost over 100 pounds with Awaken 180. And go visit awaken180weightloss.com. They're changing lives. They're saving lives, man. I'm one of them. You could be the next. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
I'm Chris Campione. In a world of big box law firms with satellite offices, there's something special about having a local legal team that cares about you and your community. We're not just lawyers, we're your neighbors. We understand the unique challenges facing the Jacksonville community because we live here too. At Campione Law, Campione Cares isn't just a tagline, it's our commitment to you. Campione Law, your trusted lawyers after an accident. CampioneLaw.com.
Count on Campione, Campione Law.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
If you know about artificial turf, you know it needs to be done right. Lauren Brooks here from my friends at Sunshine Turf, a family-owned company that will transform your outdoor space into the oasis of your dreams. A putting green, a pet run, a maintenance-free yard. Trust me, the team at Sunshine Turf are the experts you need to transform your lawn. With the highest quality products and budget-friendly pricing, get clean, low-maintenance synthetic grass by visiting sunshineturf.info or call 904-383-0243 to get a free quote today from Sunshine Turf.
Every weekend is a stone cold sports weekend. Hey, Dan Hicken here. Watch for The Weekend with Dan on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll help you put together your sports weekend. Weekend with Dan brought to you by Stone Core. We do the outdoors better.
We love talking sports on 1010XL, and I-9 Sports loves giving kids the perfect way to grow up playing sports. Fall and winter registration is underway. Log on to i9sports.com and see all they've got to offer. Kids 3 and up. You can enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount. Year-round sports all across the First Coast. St. John's, Duval, and Clay. Sign up now for fall and winter. Great locations added like Fort Family Field, Westside Middle, and Duval Charter Bay Meadows. It's all online at i9sports.com.
Prosser here. I've been telling you for years about Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season finally upon us. Imagine watching your favorite team in your new Lifetime Man Cave, family hangout, or Lifetime's version of a she shed. And now Lifetime is expanding their replacement window division. Make your home energy efficient with their Energy Star rated windows. Enclosures, flooring, and windows to fit any and all budgets. Visit the showroom just off Phillips Highway. Proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let Lifetime be your home team.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe. I want to talk to you about picking the right battles to fight in this life. Every day, we have opportunities to get upset and angry. But I want you to realize that sometimes you have to ignore in this life so that you can soar into the kingdom of heaven. My encouragement, friends, to you is to pick the right battles to fight. Fight only battles that help you draw closer to God, because you have to ignore so that you can soar.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists returns with their free bumps and bruises evaluation clinics. Now with 4 locations, these free injury assessments are open to all schools and athletic programs. Saturday mornings from 9 to 10 through October 26th at Cortex Sports Performance in Ponte Vedra, Preferred PT in Fleming Island, and also at Brooks Rehab on Centurion Parkway and Brooks Rehab at World Golf Village.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hurricane season is here, and if you own or run a business, you must protect your valuable property from parking lot floods. Call Duck Duck Rooter, your storm drain maintenance experts. Our VACCON team specializes in regular storm drain maintenance to keep your property safe and secure. With Duck Duck Rooter, you can trust our professionals to keep your storm drains clear, preventing floods and ensuring the well-being of your customers and employees. Call us today at 904-862-6769 to schedule your storm drain maintenance. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com for more information.
Febreze.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars got a huge win, the first win of the year over the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. They now head to London for a couple of games, beginning with Chicago this Sunday and the New England Patriots a week from Sunday. Let's recap Indianapolis. Let's look ahead to the London games with my buddy Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. Always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Brian, how we doing, man?
Good, Ryan. How are you?
Brian, we're good. We're a lot better this Monday than we've been the 4 previous Mondays. Just you being around the team. I heard you on the post game last night before we came on the 5th quarter. I mean, just a weight seemingly off everyone's shoulders now that first win is out of the way.
Yeah, it's hard to tell people who aren't around it every day just how different and how difficult it is when you're not winning. I mean, one loss makes for a long week. 4 in a row, it becomes downright intolerable at one point. And in the 4th quarter, when Joe Flacco was scoring 2 touchdowns in 5 offensive plays, it was about to become downright miserable. Luckily, Trevor Lawrence mounted a nice 2-minute drill. Jaguars showed resilience, which is a word that I have used a lot, called for a lot from this team in the last couple of weeks, and they found a way to get it done. And listen, the 180 from where they were to where they are, at least they have a chance now to go to London, where they play every year. They understand the rhythm of that trip. It's not an easy trip when you do know how to do it. It's almost incredibly difficult when you don't. And so it gives them an advantage. So they have a chance to go there, to winnable games for them, and perhaps come home 3-4 with a shot at the Packers to even your record. That's all made possible by getting that win yesterday.
1 week at a time, no question about that. And we're here because of the win yesterday, as you mentioned. And Brian, I mean, the second half against the Chargers will always be the best of Trevor because it was a postseason game. But I go back maybe to Baltimore in 22, maybe the Tennessee home game in 23. Those were the first 2 that jumped to mind. But my goodness, there are not a lot of performances that were better than what Trevor put forth yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Raiders game in 2022 and the Cowboys game both stand out a little bit for various plays that he made. Look, he gets it. He understands, and he has been nothing short of transparent and front and center when he says he knows that he has to play better for them to win. Part of that is guys around him playing better, and the offensive line the last 2 weeks has put together their best 2 games, and that certainly helps. There was a moment on that first drive on 3rd down, deep in Colts territory, and everyone's seen this now on TV, where he threw it short of the sticks to Brenton Strange. Didn't even look, it appeared, at Gabe Davis. And for a moment there I went, uh-oh, we're going to have one of those kinds of days, are we? Where we miss those guys. And from that point forward, he was sensational. 82% of his passes, 371 yards. Wasn't perfect. He's really, really good, and that is a great sign because he's the franchise. Ain't going anywhere. The plan is to build around Trevor, and they need him to take a step forward, and he did that and gives him a chance.
Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. Brian, you called countless Mark Brunell to Jimmy Smith touchdown hookups, and look, it was fitting that Jimmy was in the stadium yesterday. Tom Coughlin's name goes on that stadium next to Jimmy's, next to Mark Brunell's, because that 85-yarder, man, that Trevor Lawrence to bring. When I was watching that thing, that stirred up some echoes of Mark Brunell to Jimmy Smith. That was really fun to watch.
Yeah, that reminded me, and I looked at a close-up of Brian's eyes. He was looking up at the video board as he was running to the end zone. You can see his eyes pointed upward. Reminds me of a game that Jimmy Smith played against Kansas City where he was running away from Dale Carter, who back then was the best cornerback in football, and his eyes were looking at the board to see if he was going to get there. And it wasn't nearly as big a board and not as easy to see back in those days.
It was certainly fun. And look, I made this point, last night. It's interesting. Remember in March, and I know you do, we were all refreshing social media every second of every minute of every hour to see what Calvin Ridley was going to do. And the hated Tennessee Titans came in at the 11th hour, so we were told, and swooped in and took Calvin Ridley and this, that, and the other. Oh, and that might all be true. There's some debate about what actually happened there, but let's assume that at least some of that is true. Well, because of what Tennessee did, Jacksonville then needed to replace Ridley, and they took a kid out of LSU named Brian Thomas Jr., and I got to tell you, Brian, thank you, Titans, because I think the Jaguars are in awful good shape now because of it.
Look, sometimes it isn't what you do, it's what you don't do, what you can't do that sets you on a course, and that's the exact definition of what happened. Look, Calvin Ridley didn't figure. I mean, he just didn't. When Zay Jones could get him lined up correctly, there was a chance he could make some plays. But he's not a very consistent nor accurate route runner. And the Jaguars, they had a number they were willing to pay for his explosive potential. But he's not as fast as Brian Thomas Jr. He's not as big. I heard the bravado from Calvin, but I didn't see it backed up on the field very much, and Brian Thomas Jr. has consistently, said what he thought, talked the talk, and then gone out and walked the walk. So sometimes it's an unanswered prayer, and it worked out really well.
A couple more for Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. Couple of second-year guys making huge impacts yesterday. A couple of guys that got ridiculed, quite frankly, a lot last year. And I'm not going to throw stones in a glass house. I was critical of Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby. But I got to tell you, Brian, we talk about year 1 to year 2 jumps. Both guys, and particularly Bigsby, have made giant leaps into where they are right now.
Well, I think you might recall that I was the one telling you that Tank Bigsby was worth being patient with. Because everyone I talked to last year said, just hold on. This kid has got power. He's got the ability to cut, as we saw yesterday. That was a Fred Taylor cut, right? I mean, I know a lot of people wanted to make a comparison, and even Fred said, make the cut. And he made the cut. I was sitting right there with him in the West Club when he did. Bigsby's a really, really good football player and only going to get better. Brenton Strange is a guy that could start. Look, I said this on Jags AM this morning. I think when you look at the best draft classes in Jags history, you go to 96, Kevin Hardy, Tony Brackens, Aaron Beasley. You can go to 2006, which gave you Mercedes Lewis and your all-time touchdown leader in Maurice Jones-Drew. 2016, right? That was Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, and Unique Ngakoue. Great drafts. But this draft, this 2023 draft, has given you Anton Harrison, Brenton Strange, who now we believe can be a starter. Doesn't have to be. He's not Evan Ingram, really good player. Tank Bigsby, really good player. Ventrell Miller, really good player. Cooper Hodges eventually is going to be a starter for this football team, and they think he'll do the exact same thing. And then you got some role players like Tyler Lacey and Yasir Abdullah. This is a 5-starter draft and 4 or 5 backups. I think they're going to make the case at some point in time that 2023 draft is going to come out on top as the most productive draft in Jaguars history. It looks really good today.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Throw Antonio Johnson in there as well. He's done some nice things. So that 23 draft, I completely agree with you. To the 22 draft, and the number 1 overall pick in that draft was Trayvon Walker. Brian, probably his best game as a Jaguar yesterday.
Yeah, 3 sacks. I think you can easily make the case that had he been able to keep his balance, he pulls Joe Flacco down before he gets rid of the ball and gets it forward. Doug Peterson intimated at his news conference recently that he thought there could have been a fifth. He's that kind of a guy. He's not the flashy Aiden Hutchinson, guy with bend and edge rusher. He doesn't have that instinctive sense of timing like Hutchinson does for sacks. but he's got power, and he has got length, and he's learning how to use his hands. And I know Leon was talking about it last night in the fifth quarter, putting together a couple of different moves. He's a young guy who's getting better. What's he got, 15 sacks in the last 22 games? I'll take that. For the kind of person and player he is, I'll take it. I get that some people would rather have Aiden Hutchinson, really good player. I'll take what Trayvon's given this football team.
Brian, I want to talk about London in a moment. Final thought on yesterday. You were on the field when Tom Coughlin took his rightful spot in the pride of the Jaguars. A very cool scene there at the stadium. What was that moment like for you?
Well, I wasn't just on the field, Ryan. I was standing on the stage next to him. And personally, for me, it was one of the great moments of my 30 years with the franchise, because I started as a 25-year-old young man with a young coach. He was 48 at the time, but with a coach that was, on his way, building a franchise, and to see it come to that, and to have been there and lived it with him and a lot of other people as they took this franchise. The day he showed up for work, Ryan, in 1994, he went to a trailer with a folding table, right?
Wow.
That was where he went to work, and he thought, what did I sign on for? And he built it into something that was special, the best expansion franchise in the history of the league. And it's in great shape today. And to see his name go up there, it was a phenomenal moment. And to stand there next to Vaselli and Taylor and Smith, who were all as touched as I and most Jaguars fans were, it was a great moment. With the throwback jerseys and the Jaguars win, it was a damn good Sunday.
There's no question about that. To honor Coughlin, to get the victory on top of it, it was great. And all good vibes now as they head to London. I know you're heading to London here in a couple of days. First Chicago, then New England. But first things first, Caleb Williams and the Bears. What's your early thought on the matchup Sunday?
Well, I haven't had a chance to watch that game yet. Williams had 304 yards I saw and a couple of touchdowns. I mean, he's obviously a very talented player and kind of starting to figure it out. We'll see how he handles the trip. That's last year the Buffalo Bills did not travel well. That was the word the morning of the game. Got to Tottenham, and they had some issues. You got to travel well. You got to know how to do it. Jaguars do. And so I think the Jaguars are in good shape. It's a good Bears team. They're 3-2. They beat the Panthers and the Rams the last 2 weeks at home. This is technically their home game, but it's 3,945 miles away from home. So I just can't stress enough what a big advantage that can be. Listen, if we're talking about the 2013 Jags against the 2013 San Francisco 49ers, they could have played the game in Tokyo and the Jaguars weren't going to win. But with a Jaguars team that's capable of winning, and this team is, it's an advantage. And then they stay, and that's an advantage. The ability to be there. They're staying at the same hotel. Last year they changed in the week in between. This year they're parking themselves, and they are staying from the first night until the last night. And I think that gives this team a unique opportunity to go over there to winnable games. They know how to do this trip. I think it favors them well. Now, again, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, they've got some guys that can make it really difficult in the passing game. The safeties aren't playing very well. They got to get that fixed. But I like the Jaguars' opportunity to go and do what they did last year.
No, I agree, and it's interesting talking to people in Chicago. The Bears traveled today. They're doing an entire week over there. They're going to be on the practice field in London beginning tomorrow, so they're taking a much different approach than what they did in 2019. They went over there only a couple of days in advance and got their doors blown off by the Raiders. So the Jaguars will be leaving on Thursday. Chicago left today. Final moments with Brian Sexton. All right, Brian, baby steps at starting 0-4, right? 1 week at a time. Yesterday, the Jaguars were the only winless team in football. Now they're one of 4 in the AFC that are 1-4. And if you look at the standings, there are 8 teams. Half the conference has 2 or more losses. The Jaguars could get back into this thing relatively quick, but it's going to come down to what happens in London.
Well, truthfully, they could use a little bit of help. Had the Buffalo Bills played better and knocked the Texans off, that's really where this thing gets interesting, because you got the only way you're guaranteed the spot is if you win the division. And that's still possible, except, if here's the Texans are going to make this one tough. They're 4-1. You're 3 games back now. And so then you start getting into the tie-breaking scenarios in the wild card. You've got 4 conference losses. So they're going to have to go on quite a run here if they're going to truly get back into it. But, Ryan, if they can get to 4-4, right, by the time we get to November, at least then you give yourself a look at what's possible, as opposed to staring up at infinity and thinking, well, mathematically we're still in this thing. Yeah. But realistically, we're not. And so being 1-4, go get a couple of things done. Go check some boxes in London. Come home and find a way to beat a good Packers team and get yourself into that 4-4 spot heading into November. All right, now we can talk, right? Now we can talk about a run here. It gets tough because after that Packers game, you go to Philly for Sunday Night Football. You get the Vikings, who are playing extremely well, and the Texans again. I mean, it isn't easy, but at least you're putting yourself in a position. And I think we've learned that this roster isn't quite as good as we thought it was. I thought Cisco was ready for a breakout year. And every time I turn and look, I see a running back, a wide receiver going by him. I don't think he's playing very well. I thought Eric Armstead was a guy that was going to give the Jaguars something up front, but yesterday he didn't even have a tackle. They've got to get some things from some of these guys that they're still waiting to arrive in the season. If they do, they've got a shot.
Brian, what can we look forward to? Jaguars.com as you guys make the trip to London.
You know what? Normally I would be able to tell you every little bit of it, but the schedule is so crazy, and now with the threat of this storm, hell, I don't even know, Ryan. It's day-to-day with us as we're trying to figure out when we can get players, but you know us. We'll put together Jags Wired. We'll get some form of all access put together for you, some behind-the-scenes content through the Hunt, which no one does quite as well as that crew in the Miller Electric Center. We'll have something, I can promise you that. What it is, I'm not quite sure yet.
Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. Brian, appreciate it, man. Safe travels. We'll talk again soon.
You got it, Ryan. Take care.
There you go, Brian Sexton, Jaguars.com. I caught up with him earlier this week before they made that trip to London. They're over there now, and you can check out Brian's terrific work at Jaguars.com. Again, Jacksonville, Chicago. On Sunday morning, 9:30, you'll hear it right here on 1010XL, and then we will do a 5th quarter. The head coach, Dave Campo, the Pro Bowler, Leon Searcy, and myself, 2 hours after the Jaguars and the Bears go final, so probably around 2:30-ish on Sunday afternoon. We'll be here with you on 1010XL for a 5th quarter, hopefully recapping a Jaguar victory. We'll get the Chicago side of things coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Josh Buckhalter, Heavy.com. He's actually based in the Windy City. We'll talk Bears, their perspective on this game coming up with my buddy Josh Buckhalter. That is in the 8 o'clock hour. Coming up next, into the world of college football. Let's talk Florida, Tennessee, and let's do a midseason report on Florida State and Miami. Here's some spoilers. One of those midseason reports will be good. The other will be awful. You probably know which is which. Gators, Hurricanes, Seminoles talk. Barrett Sallee, the host of the College Football Smothered and Covered podcast. You also hear Barrett on Sirius XM. He joins me next on a Friday evening in the city of Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. It's 1010XL. It's 92.5 FM. It's Hacker After Dark.
Uncover what you might have missed.
He's quick. He's got great hands. He finds the gaps.
Dandy Foods Post-Game Monday.
And most importantly, he moves the chains.
Expert analysis of Sunday's game all day. Post-Game Monday. Brought to you by Dandy Foods on 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Watch top local fighters in the Police Athletic League's Boxing Championships October 26th. Find out more at jaxpal.org.
Thousands of people in Duval County suffer from Alzheimer's. To join the Walk to End Alzheimer's at UNF November 9th, visit alz.org/Jacksonville Walk.
You can make a difference in the lives of people living with lung cancer. To join the American Lung Association at the Lung Force Walk at UNF November 16th, log on to lungforce.org/Jacksonville.
Pace Center for Young Teen Girls has been helping local girls realize and fulfill their individual potential year-round since 1985. To see how you can help change a young girl's life in your community, visit pacecenter.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Joe C. for CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. And if your dream is to create that space where you're living large in your backyard, then you need to get with the good people at CSS. They put a gas log in our fireplace, an awesome fire pit out back where the kids can toast s'mores and we can just hang out and watch the game. It's all part of your outdoor living experience with CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
You dream it, we build it. CSS.
It's all about the beautiful game. The Sporting Jax Soccer Hour. From national teams to youth soccer on the First Coast. Join Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burley for Soccer Talk. Tuesday at 6 p.m. on 1010 a.m.
Are you an experienced plumber or welder with MedGas certification and you're tired of being undervalued? It's time to make the move to Local 234 Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and HVAC Technicians. With the best pay in the business, you'll earn $36.50 an hour with benefits that's almost $50. It's not just a job, it's a career that values you. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer. Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
These are interesting economic times. That's why it's so important to have someone you can count on. That's ITP Partners. Jacksonville folks taking care of our Jacksonville money. Experience? You best believe you want to give your hard-earned money to folks you trust. Jeff Hartman, Chris Bryan, Dan Abel, Reed Wingate, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reagan Wright have the expertise and knowledge to help clients in their financial lives, focusing on investment management, financial planning, and risk management. ITP Partners. Financial partners for life. Securities offered through American Portfolios Financial Services, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and GIA certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,300 per ounce and hasn't seen this level in over 13 years. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
Former Georgia defensive tackle and pro wrestler Bill Goldberg and Bulls standout and Georgia cornerback Mike Fisher will be inducted into the Florida-Georgia Hall of Fame. For tickets to the celebration lunch Friday, November 1st, go to GAFLJax.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Gators and the Volunteers Saturday night. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. The Gators coming off a win over UCF to get to 3-2 on the year. Tennessee coming off a really interesting loss to Arkansas. They'll probably be foaming at the mouth on Rocky Top to get out there on Saturday night. And we're at the midway point for Miami and for Florida State. One of those teams is very happy. The other team is not. And we'll talk about all of that with my buddy Barrett Sallee, host of the Smothered and Covered podcast. You also hear him on Sirius XM. And Barrett's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Barrett, how you doing, man?
I'm great, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, Barrett, we're good. I know you're busy, so thank you for the time. All right, quickly, a rewind back to last week. Tennessee goes down to Arkansas. More incredibly, Vanderbilt takes care of Alabama. What a crazy SEC week it was last Saturday.
Yeah, man. It's, I said this last week about this time. Every single year when we have that one down weekend in college football, all hell breaks loose. And we saw that. It was from noon until deep into the night where we had great game after great game. So it was fun.
It was fun, and there's a lot of parity. I mean, we see top 10 teams that are getting beat pretty regularly this year. Barrett, is that a direct correlation with NIL and the transfer portal? Is that why we have the parity we do now?
Yeah, it is. I think, that's a big part of it. And, Nick Saban talked about this a little bit last offseason, and I think he mentioned it on one of the game day episodes this year, is that, the depth isn't there. And, that's because a lot of these players who can play somewhere go play somewhere, right? Like they realize there's no sitting around for 3 years, because there's, these players recognize, hey, I can't start at Georgia, I can't start at Alabama, but I could go start at Mississippi State. I could go start at Arkansas. And so the depth is really the problem. And so I think for all these teams, if you're Georgia, if you're Alabama, if you're anybody, you have to look around and say, okay, how do I overcome that? Because the gap certainly is a lot smaller than it has been in years past.
Barrett Sallee, host of the Smothered and Covered podcast. You also hear him on Sirius XM. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Barrett, the Florida Gators, 1-2. The sky was falling. People were counting the minutes and the hours until Billy Napier was fired. And all of a sudden, they go to Starkville and they beat Mississippi State. All right. Then they play a pretty good game, quite honestly, and beat UCF, and they were the underdogs in that game. If nothing else, and this is what I've told people here in Jacksonville, if nothing else, give Napier credit, because amidst all the noise in the system and the roof falling in on him, this team is still playing very hard and winning these last two ball games.
Yeah, they are, and he deserves a ton of credit for it. And I don't know if he actually is going to get credit for it, because when all is said and done, the record's going to be the record. Although, like I said before, 6-6 can look different, in a lot of different ways. So, I think for Florida, the fact I didn't think they would beat UCF last week. I thought more of UCF than maybe they were, but they keep playing hard. It's been hard to go through what they've gone through with the quarterback situation. Graham Mertz has actually been really, really good when he's in there. So, Billy, this thing could go in all different directions, right? You could have, like we saw with Florida State under Willie Taggart, 85 guys going in 85 different directions. But at Florida, they have seemed to come together, and I think it goes back to something I said a long time. They don't want to fire Billy. Like they want to keep him. They like him. Everybody likes him. I think that there was some mismanagement, and at some point he has to prove that he's evolved. And I think right now it sort of looks like he has evolved. And can that be sustained? I don't know. We'll see. I think that though what we've seen this year has been really, really impressive. And I don't think it's getting recognized nationally. It's just like, oh, when's Billy going to get fired? Well, and look, that's a question that everybody asks. I asked it on today's show. But it's, it's, I think, a huge compliment to him that his players are still playing well.
And to that point, this to me, like you said, this has more Will Muschamp vibes than McElwain or Mullen vibes. They didn't want to fire Muschamp either. They liked Will. They liked the direction the program was going under Will, but Will didn't win enough games. It's kind of the same thing with Billy, at least to this point, correct?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. Will Muschamp is one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. And I like going back in time. Yeah, they really wanted him to succeed. But at some point, it became clear that it wasn't. Right now, I think it was pretty clear that it wasn't for Billy Napier. But he's starting to maybe sway some opinions a little bit. And so if that continues, then maybe he does keep his job, especially if he can if he can win one of those games down the stretch, one of those 5 in the gauntlet from hell after the cocktail party.
Barrett Solis, Sirius XM. You also hear him as the host of the Smothered and Covered podcast. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. The gauntlet doesn't officially start till Georgia, although Tennessee and Kentucky are no pushovers, so it really starts this week. Look, they're going to Knoxville on a Saturday night. Tennessee's going to be pissed because of what happened against Arkansas last week. I mean, let's be honest, what's probably going to happen? To me, Florida's got to survive the first half because I think Tennessee's going to come out as gangbusters. The Rocky Top and the Volunteer Navy, they are going to be ready for the Gators after last year. If you're Florida, just try to get into halftime with it being somewhat attainable to win, and I think that would be a victory at that point, and then see what happens in the second half.
I think that's fair because, like you said, Tennessee, they're going to be pissed after what happened last weekend. I think there's some concern, too, just who is Nico Iamaleava. I think right now he is he hasn't had to go be a superstar, and that's what Florida has to do is go, test him because really he's just sort of been okay. And then last week against Arkansas, he was far less than okay. I think when you're right, if Florida can just keep it close for a little while and then come what may in the second half, I think that'll be fine. And really just not any mistakes. I know it's easy to say no turnovers, but no turnovers, right? I mean, if you can survive, the first few drives and not get rattled by what'll be a hostile crowd, then you can go a long way. I think it mostly depends, though, on the offensive line. We've seen Tennessee's defensive front just terrorize teams. And they did the same thing to Arkansas last week, not as much as they had to other teams. But, Tennessee's defensive front is just nasty, and Florida's been kind of hit or miss there up front on offense. So I think that's the biggest key. We'll see what happens. But it's a big one. There's no doubt. If Billy can beat Tennessee, then there are a lot of minds that will be changed.
6 games in for both Miami and Florida State, Barrett. Let's talk about the good first, and that's Miami. Now, they're playing with fire the last couple of weeks, right? That Virginia Tech game was wild at the end, and then I don't think they want to come back from 35-10 for a while. I mean, they're kind of using up all their mulligans. Having said that, they're 6-0. They're in prime position for a playoff spot. What do you make of Cristobal and Cam Ward and the Canes to this point?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised because I think, to me, Miami was bound to be underwhelming this year. I thought Cam Ward was nothing but a stat monster. I was wrong. That offense is just absolutely monstrous. I do wonder, though, because they've been on thin ice, what does happen if and when they do suffer a loss? They don't get that break. Then I think the challenge for Cristobal is to not let that beat them down, because I do think it'll happen. I think for Miami, they're not an elite football team because they aren't showing what it takes to be a national champion. With that said, they're still finding ways to get it done, sometimes with the help of the officials. So, yeah, it's certainly nice to see Mario Cristobal not, try to outthink himself in terms of managing a game. That was the biggest concern going into the season for me. And quite honestly, it still is there lingering for a little bit, but still he's done a better job of that. And I think for Miami, just don't let, if you keep living like this, sometimes you're not going to get the break, but don't let that turn into the season falling apart. Because sometimes if you keep getting those breaks and then it doesn't happen, then everyone kind of looks around like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, like, what happened? Where is it? Like, what happened? And to be a top 10 team, that's just that's awesome. And I think moving forward, we'll see what they can do.
Final moments, Barrett Salee, host of the Smothered and Covered podcast. Barrett, you and I are roughly the same age, I believe. So when I see that Florida State helmet and that logo, I think back to Bobby Bowden in the glory days, and when things weren't going well, they would figure it out. And that's why the end of Bowden and certainly Willie Taggart was so weird, right? Because they just never figured it out for that little stretch. And then when Jimbo came in, they started figuring it out again and obviously won a national title. But now we're back into one of those valleys, because I'm watching this team this year and I'm thinking, all right, at some point that defensive line is going to start doing their thing. At some point that offensive line is going to take over and the wide receiver is going to do their thing. And it's just not happening. They're just not any good at 1-5. And I think they almost have thrown up the white flag, because you saw last week, Barrett, a lot of freshmen are starting to get in there for the Noles.
They are. And Mike Norvell looks exhausted. I actually ran into Mike in the airport after the game in Ireland, flying back home. And even then, he kind of looked beat down. He was talking to some Florida State boosters in the Dublin airport and just was like, he just shell-shocked, but he looked tired. Like he was, like he had no idea what hit him. And it just hasn't changed. I mean, you look on his face on the sideline, it's like just, he's perplexed all the time. It was a philosophical problem. He married himself to a quarterback that wasn't any good, and everybody saw it. I think there was some ego involved. And on top of that, I just think that he had a vision for the program that wasn't realistic. It backfired on him. He's gotten away from high school development. That will change, I would imagine, very quickly, because I do think Mike's a very smart guy. But yes, it does feel like they've kind of resided to the fact that, okay, it's just a lost season. And that sucks for the older guys, because you don't want to, have your last year as a lost season. But I mean, they know it. It's not like they haven't been involved in 5 losses. So yeah, I think Florida State can get back though next year. I do think that Mike is smart enough to recognize how to do things differently. I think he did it after that COVID season, which was challenging for a lot of different reasons, especially him for taking over the program then. But it's a lost season. And again, that sucks. It sucks to say it. It sucks to be on that roster, in that building, on that coaching staff. When you hear that, it's just like, oh, God, we're just going through the motions now. But, yeah, they're just going through the motions now.
Sometimes it's a stunning performance.
3 touchdowns tonight.
Sometimes it's the guy who gets the job done.
He doesn't take a play off.
Listen for the Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
He is a difference maker now.
On 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle with lifetime warranty, Garber Auto Mall can wiggle it. Best price, best payment, best trade-in value, Garber Auto Mall can wiggle it. With a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles, Garber Auto Mall can wiggle it. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there is always a little room for wiggle.
Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
Bet live with Hard Rock Bet. Real-time wagering till the very last play. Missing the kickoff doesn't mean all bets are off.
Delay a game on the guy who hasn't bet yet.
Sometimes you just know your team is going to come back. The sportsbook for every kind of player.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Get up to $100 back if your first bet doesn't win. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Get off the ladder and put on the helmet with Gutter Helmet of North Florida. We are family owned and manufactured locally. Cleaning your gutters is a dangerous and dirty job. That's why with Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. Water goes in your gutters while trash and debris go on the ground. It won't collect like filters do. Gutter Helmet protects. Call now for 10% off and a free gutter cleaning and tune-up with your purchase of Gutter Helmet. Call 904-762-7779.
Hey, Hicken here. I want to talk skin along with my friends at Beaches Dermatology, reminding you to wear your sunscreen. Football season is back, baby. And with that, days under that bright sun. So when you load up that truck for the game day tailgate, or the chairs for your kids' flag games, or even the boat heading downtown to watch our Jags, make sure you bring the screen. Sunscreen, that is. It's a must here in Duval. But if you have any concerns right now, give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Looking for a new or used firearm? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach will get you locked and loaded. New firearms coming in weekly and always looking for used guns. No lines and no waiting. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Prosser here. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLSconsumeraccess.org.
This election, if you want someone who will take care of the messes, someone who isn't afraid to get dirty and work in the trenches, someone who will pump out the problems and prevent future ones, vote for the Duck.
Need your septic tank serviced? Call DuckDuckRooter, your 5-star Google-rated septic company. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com.
I approve this message.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. DuckDuckRooter.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 9 o'clock tonight. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Coming up here in the 8 o'clock hour, Mike Patton. He is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. We'll talk Jaguars, but I want to look at the Texans. I want to look at a big game in Nashville coming up on Sunday between Indianapolis and Tennessee. Perfect scenario for the Jaguars. They beat Chicago Sunday morning. You can kick back, listen to the fifth quarter with us, Campo, Searcy, and myself, and keep an eye on Titans-Colts. Jacksonville wins. They will be tied in the loss column with either Tennessee or Indianapolis by the end of Sunday afternoon. It's baby steps. It requires the Jaguars winning, but 14 of the 16 teams in the AFC have at least 2 losses. All right, the Jaguars aren't out of this by a lot, but they got to win. That's why these games in London are vital, and a big game in Nashville because, again, the loser of Tennessee-Indy will already have their 4th loss of the year as well. So Mike Patton joins us coming up in less than 15 minutes. Also, Josh Buckhalter up in Chicago, Heavy.com's national NFL writer. He lives in the Windy City, primarily focusing on the Chicago Bears. We'll get the Chicago side of this matchup in London with Josh Buckhalter. That comes up towards the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. Every week here on Hacker After Dark, it's all about Hack and Little Hack make the picks. That's exactly right. My 5-year-old Little Hack, we picked the local games. No Florida State, no Miami this week, so we'll pick the Gators, Vols. We'll pick the Jaguars and the Bears, and we will pick the Titans and the Colts. Here it is. Little Hack working me into his schedule, makes the pick with us here on Hacker After Dark.
Hacker After Dark for a Thursday night edition with Big Hack and Little Hack. Make the picks again on Hacker After Dark. Big Hack, say hello.
What, are you interviewing me now? It is Hack and Little Hack make the picks here on Hacker After Dark. All right, so you have done very well in the picks as of late, particularly your college games. You keep nailing Florida State. You got Florida right as well. You did lose the Jaguars last week because Jacksonville ended up beating Indianapolis. Because Florida State's on a bye, we're going to pick the Gator game. We're going to pick the Jaguar game. We're going to pick the big game in the AFC South between the Colts and the Titans. And actually, Little Hack, let's begin there. So Indianapolis goes to Tennessee. The Jaguars just beat the Colts. The Titans have one of your favorite players in Calvin Ridley. Remember him? All right. So who do you like? Colts or Titans on Sunday in Nashville?
The Titans.
You like the Titans? Why do you like the Titans?
Crane, they're tight and they win always.
Does it have anything to do with Calvin Ridley being there?
Yes, and Calvin really used to be in the Jaguars.
Yes, he did. There's no question about that. So you're taking the Titans to beat the Colts. I actually like that. I'm going to go Tennessee as well. That brings us to the Gators. Now, Little Hack, the Gators, absolutely you can do something. It's your barbecue, man.
My friend Maxine went up in Tennessee, but Max is here with us now.
Wow, that's a lot of information for people. But yes, that's spot on. That's absolutely right. She did move to Tennessee, but Max is still here. All right. Gators, Volunteers, Florida and Tennessee. Now, Little Hack, Florida's a big underdog. On Saturday night, they're going on the road to Knoxville. Who do you like, the Gators or the Volunteers on Saturday?
The Gators.
You think Florida's going to win the game?
The Gators.
Why do you think Florida's going to win? Is it just a gut feeling?
Crane, there's alligators, and they're the best team in the United States of America.
Wow, they're the best team in the United States of America. Well, I would probably disagree with that, but you're picking the upset, huh? You're going Florida. Okay, wow, all right. He's picking the Gators. I am not. I will take the Volunteers. And that brings us, Little Hack, to Sunday in London. The Jaguars got their first win of the year. They play Chicago on Sunday. Jacksonville and Chicago, the Jaguars and the Bears. Little Hack, do the Jaguars get 2 wins in a row, or do they come back down to earth and the Bears get them? Who wins, Jacksonville or Chicago?
I'll pick the Bears and the Jaguars, but I'll pick the Bear, but I'm going to pick both teams to win.
Well, that would be hard to do. Both teams can't win. If they did, that would be the first time in NFL history.
I mean, like which one will win against them?
Okay, so who is going to win on Sunday? Do you like Jacksonville or Chicago? You got to pick one of them.
Sorry to say this, but maybe the Jaguars.
You think the Jaguars are going to win?
Or the Bears. We'll just see on Saturday.
Wow. Okay, so you're not going to make a pick. I think this is the first time in the history of Hack and Little Hack make the picks that you're literally not going to make a pick. I'm going to take Jacksonville to win. I've felt good about it all week, and I will take the Jaguars to get it done. Little Hack, you want to add anything as we wrap up here? I know you're out of school because of the weather. I know you're enjoying the off time. You want anything to add anything as we wrap up?
Yep, we get you guys on Country Ski News. We'll talk to you weekly. So for all of us here on HHD, have a remainder of your evening, and we'll talk to you next week for Little Hack and Big Hack make the picks on Hacker After Dark. Bye, Denmark.
There you go. He's the man. Well, join us next week for Hack and Little Hack make the picks right here on Hacker After Dark. So he literally didn't make a pick, which is interesting, and he's taken Florida to beat Tennessee. But I'm not going to argue with the kid. He's been pretty spot on his college picks this year. We will see what happens. Back into the National Football League. Little Jaguars and AFC South talk coming up. Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. We will talk Jags, but we'll certainly preview Titans-Colts on Sunday up in Nashville. And later on in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll go up to Chicago to the Windy City. Josh Buckhalter, Heavy.com, covering the Chicago Bears and get the Bears side of this matchup in London on Sunday. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. A Friday night, it's Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
This crowd is electric. The difference between stepping up and stepping aside can be as simple as being stepped on. And he is slow to get up. Listen for the personal injury attorney's Farah and Farah Injury Update on 1010XL.
Jacksonville.
Hacker here, and I can't believe it. 100 pounds gone. 6 months ago, I never would have dreamed this was possible. I'm going to say it again because it feels so good. I've dropped 100 pounds thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. To put that in perspective, I've taken roughly 10 inches off my waist. I'm down from a XXX to an XL, and I did it all in slightly over 6 months. It's not just about the number on the scale. It's also about getting my life back, playing with my son, and being more physically active. Now, we're celebrating big time. I'm hosting an exclusive football watch party to celebrate this huge milestone, and you'll have a chance to join me. Let's watch some football, eat some great food, and if you have questions about Awaken 180, ask me. Details to come, but don't wait on that. Call Awaken 180 today and learn how fast you can reach your goals. 844-346-1800 or online, awaken180weightloss.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley. Hi, Ken. Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see, hard water. Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka?
Last chance, Dennis. What is hard water?
Oh, is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty?
That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Arrested? Got traffic tickets? DUI? License problems, gun charges, drug charges? If you've been charged with any crime, call me, criminal defense attorney Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists congratulating this week's high school scholar athlete, Lauren Hutton, senior swimmer at Fletcher High. Lauren is the varsity captain of the swim team and is a member of the National and French Honor Societies. Congratulations, Lauren.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O.
If you want high-quality water in your home at a fair price that won't scare you to death, then talk to someone who knows water and is not a pushy salesman. Contact your local water boy, Keith. I install premium equipment and can repair or even rebuild your existing system. In a business known for aggressive sales tactics, let me show you how my approach is different. If you've got any water problems, contact the water boy at waterboyjack.com.
Who was the first baseball player to appear on a Wheaties box?
Having the right homeowner's policy protection means you're staying on top of your most valuable possession, your home. For information on finding an agent, go to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Lou Gehrig was the very first baseball player and athlete, for that matter, to appear on a Wheaties box in 1934.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Ackerman Cancer Center offers women's health, diagnostic, and screening services, including contract-enhanced mammography and total body MRI. Early detection is the key. Visit AckermanCancerCenter.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Bears, Sunday, 9:30 in the morning Eastern Time. Of course, 2:30 over in London. The Jaguars take on Chicago. Jacksonville sitting at 1-4 on the year, but they did get their first win against Indianapolis last week. Chicago feeling pretty good about things as they sit currently at 3-2 on the year. Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Mike, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. You and I haven't spoke since the season kicked off. Obviously, did not get off to the start Jacksonville wanted, 0-4. Quite frankly, I was stunned, Mike. They were in 3 of the games, but they lost all 3 of them in the final minute of play, basically. And it looked like they were going down that same road last Sunday when they blew a 14-point lead against Indianapolis. But Trevor Lawrence and the offense really came through in the final stretch there to get that division win at home. What did you make of the Jaguars beating the Colts last Sunday?
I thought it actually was a very, very good win in terms of offensively for them. Trevor Lawrence stepped up to the plate, and I have to commend him for that. He definitely showed the leadership skills and the abilities that everyone looks at and sees from him. And Tank Bigsby definitely stepped up and played a incredible and great role for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the running game. So I thought that was a thing that actually showed up and showed well. Defensively, still very concerned about that secondary. I mean, it's obvious, Alec Pierce 2 touchdowns in the last quarter against them. So, still concerns there, but offensively, they showed up and did what they needed to do, especially Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby.
You and I talked about Tank Bigsby this offseason. Last year was not a good rookie campaign. I don't think there's any other way to say it. But, man, that rookie year to the year 2 jump, Tank Bigsby, that was a gigantic jump for him as he looks fantastic out there right now.
Definitely does. I think that, at the beginning of the year, I didn't quite see Tank maybe having this type of jump, but now he's definitely earned more carries for the Jacksonville Jaguars, for sure.
Calvin Ridley, that whole saga in March when free agency took place and the Jaguars thinking they were going to bring him back. Certainly the fans thought they were going to bring him back, and Tennessee swoops in at the 11th hour and gives Calvin Ridley $92 million, and he goes to Nashville, and people here were up in arms how your biggest rival could steal one of your best players. But as a result of that, and as a result of that action alone, basically, the Jaguars were forced to pivot and they pivoted to Baton Rouge, and they drafted a kid named Brian Thomas Jr., and I got to tell you, Mike, I think we owe Tennessee a big thank you here in Duval County because Brian Thomas Jr. looks like he's going to be an absolute stud.
Yeah, he definitely has been a primetime performer. As former LSU Tigers have been. The Odell Beckhams, Malik Neighbors, the Justin Jeffersons, and players like of that ilk as well. So. He's definitely following in the lineage of LSU wide receivers and doing this thing, especially stretching the football field with him and Trevor hooking up on deep passes a lot. And it's definitely been something that's been fun to watch. And I wondered when he got there how successful he'd be off top, but he definitely has definitely did his thing in terms of threatening defenses deep, and Trevor's been finding him for sure.
22 catches, 397 yards, 3 touchdowns in Brian Thomas's first 5 games in the NFL. He's in the top 10 for receiving yardage currently in the National Football League. Again, Mike Patton here with us, host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. That brings me to the defense, and Trayvon Walker has gotten a bad rap for a while now because he's not Aiden Hutchinson. Having said that, Trayvon Walker was phenomenal in the win over Indianapolis. He's got 15 sacks in his last 22 games played and really came into his own. Probably his best game as a Jaguar, Mike, on Sunday in that win over the Colts.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And, I was one of the people that thought they would pick Aiden Hutchinson over Trayvon Walker. And at first I kind of was like, okay, maybe they made a mistake. But as time has gone by, he's kind of showed up and showed out, as they would say. And he's definitely gotten better and definitely got more pressure on the quarterback and definitely been that great compliment to Josh Hines Allen. Or you could say, honestly, that it could potentially flip the other way as time goes on as well.
I want to look around the division with you in a moment. Final thought on Jacksonville. 0-4 was a disaster. Now they're 1-4, and that was the message last week, man. Just get one. Just get one and then work on number 2. This is a week-to-week thing. But if we're going to look ahead a week and a half, they're in London for the next 2 games. Chicago's a good team. That's going to be a hard game. Having said that, it is a rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams, his first time in London. The next week, it's another rookie quarterback, it appears, Drake May. He'll be making, at that point, his second career start with New England. Mike, Jacksonville has an opportunity. Will they do it? Who knows? But there's no doubt they have an opportunity with 2 what I would call winnable games to come back home at 3-4, and at that point, it's almost a season reset, and you're right in the thick of the wild card with 10 games to go. Certainly 2 vital games in London, but an opportunity nonetheless.
Definitely an opportunity. Like you mentioned, 2 rookie quarterbacks, more than likely, in both games. So, your defense should have a little bit more of an advantage there. So, definitely if Jacksonville comes back, winning both those games, you definitely throw yourself in the thick of the race, not only for the wild card, but also the division. You got to also remember, Houston's not necessarily running away with the division right now as well. So that's something to keep in mind to think about also.
Let's talk about the Houston Texans, 4-1. Their record looks great, although their 4 wins, they could have honestly lost all 4 of them, but give them credit. They found ways to get it done. I would think they're very happy at 4-1. Of course you would be. And they're winning close games. So, again, credit to them.
Yes, credit to them. I just have a little bit of concerns. Definitely have more concerns now that Nico Collins is on injured reserve for the next 4 weeks. But, I definitely have concerns about them because they still have trouble running the football. And our offensive line has issues in terms of protecting C.J. Stroud. I'm seeing him run a little bit more, move around a little bit more in the pocket and then outside the pocket as well. So, there are definitely concerns there now. I recognize that their record is what it is, but to me, just watching them, it seems a little bit shaky in terms of the record that they have in terms of how they're playing offensively. Defensively, still has some issues there, but, for the most part, what I thought they would be there.
Mike, let's go to Indianapolis next. We just saw them here on Sunday. Look, I get it, man. Anthony Richardson's a top 5 pick. Anthony Richardson looks like he's the future. Anthony Richardson also has not looked very good in his starts this year, where Joe Flacco, in the time he's come in, the last 6 quarters or so, has looked pretty good. They're going to go with Anthony Richardson if he's healthy. I can't necessarily fault them for that. but I don't know if he gives them a better chance to win on Sunday in Nashville than Joe Flacco would. What's your thought there?
Honestly, I talked to Warren Moon, NFL Hall of Famer Warren Moon, about Anthony Richardson, and he actually is of the thought that he should probably sit for the rest of the season and watch Joe Flacco. So, in that aspect, I was like, okay, it was kind of, taken back a little bit by the comments, but I understand being at the era that Warren Moon came from. With that being said, the Indianapolis Colts are definitely, they're tied into Anthony Richardson, and they're going to take the bumps and bruises and things like that. So, while it may be Flacco, maybe this or that and the other, and things like that, they're still going to ride with Anthony Richardson, and I think they should actually depend more on the running game to actually kind of, help him grow as opposed to trying to put more on his plate. That's what I think they also should do.
A couple more from Mike Patton, the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. One more thought with Indianapolis. They obviously have a lot of injury issues defensively. Mm-hmm. It's a big game for them in Tennessee. I made the point last night here in Jacksonville. Perfect scenario for the Jaguars. You beat Chicago on Sunday morning. It will be here East Coast time. Then you kick back and you watch Indy and Tennessee. The loser of that game would join the 4-loss club, and all of a sudden you're tied in the loss column with one of your division rivals. So interesting game between the Colts and the Titans. I'll ask you the same question with Tennessee. Do they have a Will Levis problem right now?
Well, currently, Levis is definitely tied with Anthony Richardson for the most interceptions in the NFL. But what Brian Callahan has also stated is that he's going to be the quarterback if he's healthy. So there is no quarterback controversy there. He's going to be the quarterback if he's healthy. Sure, he has made some mistakes, but also I would point out that, he definitely has made some bad mistakes and some mistakes that have cost them in games, of course, obviously. But, outside of those mistakes, he definitely has not put up horrible numbers, but he hadn't put up great numbers. He's put up about average numbers. And that's what they need from him. They need him to just be solid average. They don't need him to be superstar going out there winning games. They just need him to be an average quarterback at this point in time to winning ball games. And we'll see if that happens coming out of the bye week with which he's also nursing a shoulder injury, so there's no guarantee that he actually will be starting as well.
It's a tough deal for Tennessee. They had an early bye. They now have 13 consecutive weeks of football games now with the bye week in the rearview mirror. Mike, that game in Nashville, it's the marquee game in the AFC South. You got the Texans, Patriots. You obviously got the Bears, Jags, but you have the Colts at the Titans. Indy 2-3, Tennessee 1-3. Well, that's an important game for both teams.
Oh, it's very important. It's even more important for the Titans. I mean, people have looked at how much money they spent this offseason to improve the roster and things like that, and that's going to be key. Jeffrey Simmons should be back for this game. He has a ligament issue in his elbow, but he will be more than likely wearing a brace and be back for this game. So definitely a huge game. The biggest thing in this game is going to be the determining factor, in my opinion, the running game. The running game. Whoever runs the football the best in this game wins this game. And we know the Titans can be stingy against the run. And we know the Colts, despite the first couple of weeks and the things that they did or allowed to happen, can be stingy against the run as well. So we'll see which team can be more effective against the run.
Mike, as we wrap up, I assume we both like the Texans over the Patriots because the Patriots are starting Drake May, a rookie quarterback, making his first career start. Who do we like, or who do you like, rather, in Chicago, Jacksonville, over there in London?
Let's see. In that game, I would say I kind of give a slim edge to the Bears just because, the passing game is definitely kind of kicked off just a little bit. However, I will say it's kind of a pick 'em game because the Bears' offensive line can be pretty bad at times, allowing a ton of pressure, especially with Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen on the edges for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, it's kind of a pick 'em game. I would say maybe the Bears win this game, but if they do win this game, maybe by a field goal, not by much.
It'll be interesting. Jacksonville with a heck of an opportunity over there in London, although they got to get it done against Chicago and New England. Mike Patton always gets it done. He's the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. Mike, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, about the podcast and where they can find it.
All right. You can find Touring the AFC South on all listen platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. You name it, we are there. We're also on YouTube at the Mike Patton Network. Also, of course, if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82.
Mike, know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time. We'll talk again soon, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Together, one play at a time.
It's the moment the game changed.
Up in the air, it is caught!
Listen for the Performance Painting High Performance Play of the Game.
Are you kidding me?
On 1010XL. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Dive into Beyond Triathlon, an inspiring documentary with stories of women in sports, featuring Jacksonville's Dottie Dorian, Mayor Donna Deegan, and three-time Olympic gold medalist Nancy Hogshead at the Lazara Performance Hall at UNF this Saturday, October 12th. After, Bacardi invites you to celebrate with a triumphant Toast to Excellence reception. Golden and silver levels get an exclusive custom blended bottle of rum. Get tickets starting at $10 at BeyondTriathlon.com. Proceeds benefit scholarships for female athletes.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost are the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org, and you can apply there.
Apply by November 7th.
Get off the ladder and put on the helmet with Gutter Helmet of North Florida. We are family owned and manufactured locally. Cleaning your gutters is a dangerous and dirty job. That's why with Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. Water goes in your gutters while trash and debris go on the ground. It won't collect like filters do. Gutter Helmet protects. Call now for 10% off and a free gutter cleaning and tune-up with your purchase of Gutter Helmet. Call 904-762-7779.
When you're hungry for midday sports talk, share a table with Helmets and Heels.
It's a bad idea to travel on an empty stomach.
Mia, Lauren, and Taylor. We like hungry.
Switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Noon to 2 weekdays on 1010XL.
Hey Googans, Dr. Chris Kopp, PT here with Premier Physical Therapy of Jacksonville. Is pain interfering with your life? Looking for a specialist for the rehab of your young athlete? Whether recovering from injury, surgery, or improving overall function, Premier PT Jax provides personalized treatment with compassionate care. My team of experts are ready to serve you at 3 locations: Plana Vedra, San Pablo, and US 1 Phillips Highway. Visit PremierPTJax.com or call 904-996-6922. PremierPTJax.com, where your journey to wellness begins.
Pick it here for Bow 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and it is hot out there. You know that, Greg. But Honda has a plan for you on or off the road.
They do. There are a ton of Honda scooters, Honda mini motos, great for the beach. Also get you out in the woods with a Honda side-by-side. Plenty to do and stay cool.
Yeah, four-wheelers, and you can trick them out.
We can. From stereo systems to big builds, we do it all.
Everything's there for you to see. CyclesOfJacksonville.com online or on Atlantic near Regency. Check out Cycles of Jacksonville.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Are you tired of spiders, ants, roaches, or other pests invading your home turf? Call the winning team at Kingfish Pest Control. I can tell you from my own experience, Kingfish will sack mosquitoes, tackle rodents, and intercept termites before they can blitz into your home. And right now, score 20% off your new pest control service when you start during the 2024 football season. Save big and defend your home with Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-7
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, rolling lot bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Bears, Sunday, 9:30 in the morning. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL Radio. The Jaguars coming off their first win of the year. Chicago probably feeling pretty good on their way over to London, being 3-2 on the year after absolutely wiping the floor with Carolina last Sunday. Let's go to Chicago. Let's talk to a man that covers the NBA and the NFL for Heavy.com. He is based in the Windy City. That's my buddy Josh Buckhalter. He's also with Clocker Sports, and he joins us here on 1010XL. Josh, how we doing?
I'm well, man. How about yourself?
Josh, we're good. Thank you for the time. All right, London for Chicago. First things first, boy, they left awful early in the week. The Jaguars don't head over till Thursday. Chicago left Monday evening. Based on your knowledge, what was the reasoning why Chicago wanted to get over there so far in advance of the game?
Acclimation purposes, get ahead of the time change. We had a few players mention, this is just from my readers' block room, nobody specifically said this, but they were talking about the time change and the jet lag and things of that nature. So my read would just be that it's a matter of trying to get acclimated as well as possible before in the early game.
Caleb Williams, 5 games into his rookie career, 3-2. He was very good last week against Carolina. Josh, how has the rookie looked 5 games in?
I think it's been very much a rookie process. I think, expectations can kind of shade what's actually happening on the field. And I've seen a player who's gone from looking very unsure about a lot of the basic things that they want him to do to a guy who has maybe not mastered them, but come really close and still has that very high ceiling as a playmaker that made him the number 1 overall pick.
Josh Buckhalter, Heavy.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. You mentioned the expectations. There were certainly a ton of expectations on Caleb Williams in that city coming into this year. And then you see what Jaden Daniels is doing in Washington. That's why, to me, Josh, and you tell me, you're obviously a lot closer than I am, I think Williams having a game like he had against Carolina was a very, very good thing for him and that organization.
I actually wrote about this before Daniels had that big Monday night game against the Bengals, I believe it was, that the news cycle could get really ugly for the Bears because they had come off an ugly loss. And Williams didn't exactly look good. They just turned it around. They figured out some things to kind of make his job easier since then. And I think that people also forget that Daniels is an older prospect who came from a more NFL style of offense in college 2 times over because he played for Herm Edwards at Arizona State before he went to LSU. So there was a guy who had a higher starting platform in Daniels and a guy who I still believe in Williams has the higher overall ceiling. So his playing well, I think, helped the narrative, but I'm not sure that internally that they ever believed there was any type of question about where Caleb was or where he was going to go if they continue to do the things that they believe would make him into the player worthy of being the number 1 overall pick.
No doubt that they surrounded him with a lot of talent. They went out and got Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, and Gerald Everett in the offseason. They already had Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. They draft Rome Odunze. How would you assess the skill position talent around Caleb 5 games into the year?
It's loaded. It's as loaded now as it was then. I think as with a lot of things, people kind of overlook the chemistry aspect of things and how it has to all come together from an individual standpoint. We saw players, especially nowadays, when they don't practice the same, they don't play the same in preseason. So seeing some of the rough edges that came out were not surprising to me. I actually had a prediction before the season that if they were able to get back to 7 wins for a second year in a row, that would be good because of how much they had changed over this past offseason. So they're loaded, man, and I think that's the most encouraging part is that they are 3-2. It has not been the best just yet. They have a softer portion of their schedule right now, and they are a team that looks like they're figuring a lot of things out in the areas where they really needed help, and that's again, like I said, very encouraging.
Josh Buckhalter, Clocker Sports, Heavy.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. You know, what's interesting to me, and again, you tell me, you're much closer to it, I have a bunch of Chicago Bear friends that follow that team, and in talking to some other Bears media up there in Chicago, here's the vibe I've gotten this week. If Caleb Williams has time, he looks very, very good because Carolina didn't get near him last week. Houston ruffled his feathers, and he looked like a rookie quarterback. So if you're Jacksonville, it's imperative to get pressure on him. Would that be accurate?
I think at that time when he faced Houston, it would have been, but over the past couple of weeks, he's been really good against the blitz. He's taken a lot more checkdowns and easy throws that he was missing when he was getting lit up like that earlier on in the season. So I would say at this point in time, it might be close to, pressure him or send extra pressure at your own peril because he seems to be figuring that part of it out very quickly.
Matt Eberflus is in year 3 up there in Chicago. He's on the same timeline Doug Peterson is down here in Jacksonville. I know there was maybe a little bit of pressure on Eberflus coming into the year. How's his standing so far?
Well, I think that depends on who you ask because there are still plenty of players who echo his message. You can't question whether or not he's lost the group publicly, at least. That doesn't seem to be the case. You still see some of the same, I guess, issues you would call them from him, time management-wise, situational. But this is a coach who's also in his 3rd year. I think that's something I've tried to preach a little consistently as well. Is we might have issues, but he's a guy who's also learning on the job. I think he got a little bit of a reprieve getting Williams in there because the Bears are not trying to have that turnover factor that they've been in terms of regimes over the past few years and past few quarterbacks, to be honest. So I would say it's probably stabler on the inside than it was ever thought to be on the outside, and winning obviously spoons over everything. So he's probably as firm as he's been in the past few months based on how the expectations were, but I don't think the pressure's off by any means.
Josh, defensively, I want to get to the guys that are playing in a moment. I saw where Jaquan Brisker did not make the trip to London. That's a pretty significant blow, right? Isn't Brisker one of their better players on defense?
Yes, on the field and also in the locker room, a very vocal leader, a guy who still has a chance to make the trip if he's able to clear protocol by the end of the week. So they're keeping their fingers crossed about that. But yes, it would absolutely be a very big loss to a defense that still has some players, some depth options back there that they're comfortable with, and Elijah Hicks behind Brisker in particular. So it wouldn't be the end of the world per se. The defense is still very good talented players in all the other 10 spots as well. It's definitely a loss, though. That's a guy that brings a lot of fire, a lot of passion, and so it would be a huge hit to that defense if they don't have him out there.
Let's talk about that defense. That's probably been one of the highlights of the 3-2 start. They look like they're flying around, very active, even in the games that they lost, particularly that Houston game. C.J. Stroud didn't light them up by any stretch of the imagination. Are they pretty pleased with the defensive performance so far?
Absolutely. They are a group that feeds off that confidence, that swagger and energy, and, being healthy has actually been a key to it. I've talked in the locker room about that with a few guys this past weekend. They were banged up this time last year, as it might be the case this weekend, and it really took a toll. The pass rush wasn't able to get home because they weren't necessarily afforded enough time to get home, and then there was not enough guys to cover, period, because they just were running through players so frequently. So this year they're healthy. The chemistry has been there. The production has been there, and that has only helped the guys in the front feel more confident in what they're trying to do. The guys at the second level, the linebackers, are comfortable with what they're trying to do, and it's been such a cohesive unit, and that's why the potential loss of Brisker this weekend is so big. Even if the defense can still play at a high level, you don't want to have that chink in the armor at such a key position, such a key voice in particular.
Final moments, Josh Buckhalter, Heavy.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. The London thing, you mentioned they went over on Monday. They're going to be over there all week leading into Sunday's game. Interesting mix on the roster. There's some youth, there's some veterans, a lot of in between as well. How will this team handle the whole London thing, in your opinion?
I think well. I think that they've handled a lot of the adversity well, and that's actually been one of the staples of Eberflus's tenure, and why I think that his position has been stronger internally than it's ever been viewed outside. That group never gets fractured, even when they are up against it, and it seems like they should be on the verge of breaking everything apart. They are a circle the wagons group if ever there was one, and so I think this would be a group that listens to their leadership. Listen to the guys that, have loud voices in their locker room. Hey, get your rest, get your preparation, get your treatment, whatever you got to do to be ready on game day. And I think that's part of why you see a guy like Brisker self-reporting. The Bears are not shy. They might not give a lot of information out, but their players are very, very much in tune with themselves and upfront with the training staff and reporting injuries. So I think they're going to handle it well, to be honest with you, despite them being a fairly young team and a fairly new group. In terms of a collective.
This is an interesting game on Sunday because in talking to some Chicago people, they think this is going to be a layup. And the Jaguar fan base, I can tell you, looks at that win over Indy last week as maybe a reset of their season with a very good possibility to beat Chicago and New England over in London. There's a fan base that's going to be stunned on Sunday. What is the thought? You're around the team every day. What is the thought on Jacksonville as the Bears get ready for them?
They do not overlook any opponent. They'll tell you the guys they have that'll make plays fast. They're quick to shut down any type of that overlooking mentality in that locker room. So especially when you have a situation where in Jacksonville, where you guys could get Evan Ingram back this weekend. That matchup where that hole where Brisker might not be, it looms large with a guy like him coming back and the weapon that he can be in the passing game. And then Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 overall pick, right? He's going to want to show that he can be better than the guy that he's shown in the past few weeks. He's going to be against another number 1 overall pick. These guys are human beings first and foremost. They're professional athletes after that, though, and they're very competitive. So the juices will be flowing. I don't see any team backing down from either one here. And like you said, man, one of these fan bases are going to be greatly disappointed because I don't see this being a layup for either side.
Josh Buckhalter, Heavy.com. Josh, not only do you do a great job covering the NFL, you also do a great job covering the NBA. And lo and behold, regular season's, 2 weeks away? I mean, we are on the doorstep. All right, man, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, they re-signed a bunch of guys. How are my Magic looking coming into the year?
I like it. I like the move to get Pope, a guy who is one of those unsung glue guys, contributes to winning, doesn't necessarily always pop on the stat sheet, but is always doing the right things at the right times. I told you this last year, man. I like that group, and I like the fact that they didn't break it up. In fact, they kind of doubled down on the given Wendell Carter that extension. So I like it. I like what I've seen from them. I like Apollo's one of my favorite young players in the league. If he can get a true point guard to help him take some of that offensive burden off of him, I think you guys will reach the sky's the limit for you. This year, I don't see any reason to see you take too big of a step back. The East got tougher, so it's always a chance that one team slides. But I think that the Magic are built for the long run, and they only made moves to that end this offseason.
Josh, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, about both Clocker Sports and Heavy.com and where they can find your work.
Man, check us out, Heavy.com, covering all the biggest NBA, NFL, MLB, whatever else you could think of. And then Clocker Sports is where you can get all the Bears coverage. Follow me at Josh Buck on X and at Clocker Sports.
Josh, always appreciate the time, man. Thank you, and we'll talk again soon, my friend.
My pleasure, man. Take care.
Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to Josh Buckhalter of Heavy.com for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Josh does a great job covering the NFL for Heavy.com, and he's based up in the Windy City, up in Chicago, so enjoyed getting his perspective on the Bears and the Jaguars coming up this Sunday, 9:30 kickoff Eastern Time Sunday morning. It'll be Sunday afternoon over in London. And look, as I said last night, these two games in London, Chicago on Sunday and New England a week from Sunday, are must-wins. You could argue that these two games, the next two, are two of probably the easiest 3 or 4 remaining of the 12 games the Jaguars have left on their schedule. And when you're 1-4, you've dug yourself a hole that you need to dig out of, and you need to win games like this against back-to-back rookie quarterbacks. Caleb Williams this week, Drake May next week, so a vital game for the Jaguars coming up on Sunday. And I've told you this all week as well. I feel good. about the Jaguars. And again, I'm not sunshine and rainbows guy. I've picked them to lose 3 of the 5 this year. Picked them to beat Indianapolis last week. Got that right. I think they're going to win again. I think last week kind of did something particularly for the offense. If you get Evan Ingram back, which looks promising, I think the Jaguars are going to find a way to get it done. I think it'll be tough. Chicago's a decent football team, but give me the Jaguars to get the 2-4 on Sunday with a victory over the Chicago Bears. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very busy Friday evening and a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Josh Buckhalter, Heavy.com, covering the Chicago Bears. Appreciate his time. Thank you to Mike Patton, who is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast, as we spent some time on the Jags, but also looked at Tennessee, Indianapolis, and, of course, Houston. Big one in the AFC South on Sunday, right? Perfect scenario for the Jaguars. They beat Chicago, and then you can watch Sunday afternoon Tennessee and Indianapolis up in Nashville. The loser of that game would then join Jacksonville with 4 losses, assuming Jacksonville beats Chicago. So the Jaguars can claw their way back into it, no question, but it requires some W's. And hopefully that happens on Sunday. Remember, 2 hours after the Jaguars and the Bears go final here on 1010XL, we will have the 5th quarter on Sunday afternoon. The Pro Bowler Leon Searcy, the head coach Dave Campo, and myself should get underway roughly about 2:30 or so on Sunday afternoon, hopefully recapping a Jaguar victory, and we do hope that you join us then. We previewed Week 7 of college football with Barrett Salih, who is the host of the College Football Smothered and Covered podcast. You also hear him on Sirius XM. Florida and Tennessee tomorrow night. I like the Volunteers, but I think Florida will keep it reasonable. I think Florida will be respectable, but I think Tennessee ultimately wins the game. And a good week from Ole Miss, LSU to Oregon, Ohio State. You look at Texas, Oklahoma. Should be a good Saturday of college football. And again, thank you to Brian Sexton. We caught up with Brian before the team took off to London, and always appreciate Brian giving time for us here on Hacker After Dark. Now, we'll be back Monday, hopefully recapping a Jaguar victory here on Hacker After Dark. And again, I will talk to you on Sunday afternoon on the 5th quarter, 2 hours after the Jaguars and the Bears go final. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Friday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us on HAD, including my guy Little Hack, who joined me tonight to do the picks, love you, buddy. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. Have a terrific remainder of your Friday evening and a fantastic weekend. And I will talk to you again Sunday afternoon on the 5th quarter. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
It's football all day on Pregame Friday.
Little pigskin, why not?
Get the news, notes, and inside stuff you need to get ready for game day.
It's fantastic.
Pre-Game Friday
Is brought to you by Dream Finders Homes and MyBookie on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by